I'll be starting my Q&A for just a moment. Oh, there we are, finally. All right, now we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Hey! All right. This is Dr. Brooke Goldner from Goodbye Lupus, and I'm here to do my weekly Q&A session for the public to help all of you guys live better and healthier and make better choices for yourself. I always like to start out with an anecdote of something that happened today. And there's usually a similar message. It's the strangest thing where I have kind of twin sessions every day where people will have the same problem. And I gave the speech twice already today, so I'm going to give it to you as well. One person I saw has psoriatic arthritis and uveitis, so inflammation of the eyes that's already caused vision loss in one eye. And the other person I just talked to has an unknown neurological disease that's caused her to have damage to cranial nerves, and she can't speak easily. And her doctor says this could progress and get worse, even though they don't know what it is. And both of them expressed to me the same sentiment that I don't know how long I could do this, meaning the nutrition for, hypernourishment or the protocol to try to reverse disease. I don't know how long I can do this. And for both of them, what my response was is that I think you're thinking about the wrong problem. How long you could, so you're thinking about how hard it is to choose to eat healthy every day, how hard it is to, make sure that when you go out that you have the right foods at the restaurant, or that you make sure you go shopping and have your vegetables. You're thinking about how hard it is to eat vegetables. What you're not thinking about is how hard it is to live with a chronic disease that is robbing you of your vision, that's causing arthritis, that's making you become paralyzed in your cranial nerves. That is hard. That is something that you need to think about in terms of, can I live with this? How hard can I, am I going to be able to do this forever? People tend to want to focus on reasons why they don't want to continue with the nutrition, right? They want to think about how hard it is to eat healthy every day, but that's not hard. Living with disease is hard. So make sure you're asking yourself the right questions and that you are not choosing the wrong hard, right? 30 years ago, I was told I have 6 months to live. And back then I ate everything. I ate pizza every day. My parents had a pizza place. I ate processed foods. I ate all sorts of junk. And I was facing down dialysis. I was taking chemotherapy. I was taking tons of drugs. I had to live on medications for 12 years of my life. That was hard. Being told I could never have children, trying to work through brain fog and pain, that was hard. When I switched to eating well, when I switched to the Goodbye Lupus protocol and my disease went away, it's been easy ever since. So just make sure you're not letting yourself focus on the struggles around getting healthy and eating well, rather than focusing on the struggles of what it's like to live sick and looking at the food as your savior, right? That's what's going to make your life easier, is learning how to eat in a way that makes your life better, rather than focusing on why it's hard to do it. Of course, it's hard to do it. Why do you think I need to spend all this time? If it was easy, anyone who would read my book would just do it and happily ever after. And there are people who do, but for most folks, it's hard at first. Why do it? Because it's easier than living with your disease. So just remember that whenever you're focused on why it feels hard to change your diet, remember the reason you're doing it is because it's harder to live with disease. Okay. So I hope that helps you guys. I want to make sure that you benefit from any help that I give any of my clients, so that we can get you better as soon as possible. I do want to let you guys know the Rapid Recovery Group starting March 17th. When I last checked it, there was one spot. Let me see. It might actually have already been filled. But just so you know, in every single group, usually about 5 to 10 people off the wait list end up getting in, because out of all the people who sign up, last minute, there are people who bail. They either switch to appointments because they're afraid of Facebook, or something comes up and they decide to put it off, or they wait to the next group or whatever. So every single time, I think the last wait list, 8 people got in off the wait list. So if you enroll now, I haven't even had time to update the website. I believe I saw an update that said that the last spot got taken, but that means that the next person will be number 1 on the wait list. The last group, 8 people got in off of it. So just so you know, if you do sign up now, most likely you're going to end up on the wait list, but there's still a very high chance that you could get into the March 17th group. If not, then you'll have your spot saved for the next group, which will probably be May. I haven't set the date for it yet. Or you'll have the opportunity to, you know, maybe switch that out and turn it into appointments or something else. We can help you work that out. But just so you're aware of that, I wanted to let you know. Yeah, another 9 days till we get started again. Okay, let's see here. Let's get on it. If you haven't looked, I already posted a beautiful video from Mary, who was in the last group, who wanted me to share her results with you, who's doing really well, reversing morbid obesity and rheumatoid arthritis and anxiety and all that good stuff. All right, let's see here. Let's come over, since Instagram went live first, let's go over to you. And meanwhile, by the way, that's why I created things like my rapid recovery group, not because I don't want to have days off in my life. It's because for most people, when they first go to change their diet, their brain just takes them off the plan all the time. Their brain keeps taking them away from it, you know? And so what I need for them to do is listen to my brain every day until my brain takes over. And when people in my group say that they hear my voice in their head, I say, great, download complete. You're ready to graduate. So just be aware of it. Your brain is addicted to stuff and it'll argue with you and tell you it's too hard, but you need to remember what's really hard and do the right thing for yourself. All right, let me come back. Sorry, Instagram's already filled up so many things. I have to scroll a while to find a question. Here we go. Let's see here. All right, Britt's healing journey. Hi, Dr. Goldner. Can bad osteoarthritis be reversed? Yes. So we can't. You're not going to grow back new padding to your joint, right? If something is bone on bone, that happened, right? But we've had people with osteoarthritis who have improved their symptoms dramatically. In fact, Mary, who just made that video that's on my Instagram channel today and should be on Facebook as well and YouTube, she has osteoarthritis because, you know, she has morbid obesity. She's been severely overweight, and that caused too much pressure on those joints. Now, her rheumatoid arthritis went away, but her knee pain from the osteo also dramatically got better, where she can actually get up and move and exercise again. So as the weight goes down, which will happen on our protocol, that will get better. And two, if there's any inflammation around the osteoarthritis, that will get better, which will decrease the pain. And being fully hydrated actually fills in whatever padding is left to make it a bit more able to absorb impact. So in all those ways, you can improve your experience of it. And we've had people who thought they needed surgery who ended up not needing it because they had improved so much using the protocol. So it's definitely worth doing. All right, let's come over here. Purity in plants. Do you recommend any special methods for washing non-organic fruits and veggies for the protocol? Not necessarily. If something needs to be washed, I usually just use salt water. That's usually the primary thing that I'll do. And, you know, like 5 minutes, like let it soak. And that's if it's not organic. If it is organic, usually I'll just rinse them with water. I know people want to aggressively wash everything. I have never had a problem with it. My gut handles all of it just fine. So I buy stuff that's already pre-washed and then just rinse it and go. And I haven't had any issues. But for the non-organic salt water, and when I looked into it, that appeared to have results just as good as all those different high-tech cleansers and products that they sell, that it worked really well. So that's what I usually use. Okay, let's see what's going on the Facebook side. All right. Okay, so Missy on Facebook, hi Missy, says, I've been having, I'm going to guess having, I can put it up here. I've been having 1 big Vitamix smoothie a day with 1 pound of cruciferous vegetables and 3 cups of fruit. Good. I've seen videos where you fill the big Vitamix with 75% cruciferous and 25% fruit, about 3 cups. I've seen a lot of posts on Smoothie Shred where people are saying 24 ounces of fruit max for the day. What's correct? If we have 2 64-ounce smoothies a day, does that mean we can all have 6 cups of fruit to get it all down? Okay, let me just remind you guys, when you are posting a question to me, if you can let me know what your goal is in terms of what protocol you're trying to do, that will help my answer. So if your hypernourishment would be that you're adding healing foods to your diet, but you might be eating a lot of other different things, right? So if you're trying to hypernourish, that's one. The Goodbye Lupus protocol, GLP, all right? That means you are trying to only eat the foods you need for heal. You're doing the raw program and you're trying to only eat the foods you need for healing. And then the third one would be the Goodbye Autoimmune Disease Protocol, GAIDP, which would be to say, I am going all out on my nutrition for healing and working on my emotional health and sleep, etc., to optimize my ability to recover. Okay. So just so you guys are aware of that. So you didn't tell me, Missy, if you're just trying to hypernourish or if you're trying to heal. So let me give it to you both parts. So if you're just trying to add hypernourishment, it doesn't matter. What matters for hypernourishment is how much of the cruciferous vegetables or spinach or chard, how much of the flax or chia, and how much of the water. That doesn't make, it doesn't matter what else you're eating. It doesn't matter about the fruit. It doesn't matter about anything else. It's just about getting those foods into your body, right, in their raw form. So in that case, it doesn't matter about fruit, right? Now, if you're trying to do the Goodbye Lupus protocol, then we really try to keep fruit to less than 25% of the diet because that's what has been shown to work really, really rapidly. Some people can get away with more, but in my programs where I'm working with people 4 to 6 weeks every single day, then I really optimize it. And one of the ways we optimize it is to minimize fruit. The question you're asking, people are, they're mixing things together and then the advice gets really bogged down. Okay. But if you're trying to aggressively, let's say you want to get in 24 ounces of high nutrient vegetables a day, right? So the minimum for hypernourishment is 16 ounces a day. But let's say you want to go up higher, then you'll be able to raise your fruit up. But usually 24 ounces is the max. So it might sound like they're equivalent, but they're not because it's 24 ounces by weight, not volume. So 16 ounces, for example, of vegetables, it's going to be a lot of vegetables. 16 ounces of fruit is only going to be a little bit of fruit. So when we get into really detailed programs with a lot of structure, we weigh everything out really carefully. But if you're working on your own, you don't need to do that. You can just do your 25% in your blender and everything. And if it's working for you and you're doing well, then you don't need to do anything more. But if it's not working for you, then you want to start weighing everything out and making sure that the amounts are really, truly where you want them to be for that. So yeah, don't worry about all that other stuff. It's too confusing. If you're working on your own and you're doing really well with your blender like that and the results are what you want, perfect. All right. So, okay, let's see here. Let's go to the next one on Instagram. Man, you guys keep filling in and hold on. Let me rewind. Okay. And again, when you're asking me questions, try to tell me what protocol you're trying to do, or even if you're new to this, like tell me so I can make sure my answer is more targeted rather than more general. Okay. Here we go. We're back to the top. All right. So Keller Labelle, can nerve pain and neuropathy be helped? In most cases, I have found yes. It depends on the cause of the neuropathy and the nerve pain, right? So for example, there's some cases when you can't. Let me start there. Like I had a patient actually in California who was someone who used to play really competitive tennis, pounding his feet on concrete all day. And then he also had, pre-diabetes and cholesterol issues and stuff like that. And so I changed his diet for him, and he didn't aggressively do nutrition, but he did a dramatic improvement in his nutrition, and his cholesterol was great. Pre-diabetes went away, but the nerves didn't change in his feet. Now he didn't do my aggressive rapid recovery programs or anything like that, but there was no change in his feet. And, if the nerves had been killed, damaged, repeated injury, and they scarred over, I don't expect there to necessarily be a rejuvenation, right? But when people who have come with CIDP, MS, neuropathies from chemotherapy, neuropathies from COVID, or even one case where it was from the COVID vaccine, those all got better, right? MS is another one where there's scar tissue versus a recent injury, right? Usually the most recent lesion off of the MRI when people have gotten retested has gone away, but the old lesions are still there. Those are scarred over. So if it is something that's scar tissue, and then we don't expect that to go away, but we can stop whatever was causing it. But for all of those other issues, we have seen dramatic, beautiful improvement in people. Even early stroke had amazing improvement. Old stroke, those symptoms are still there, but we're getting rid of the pre-existing conditions. So, all right, let's go back over here, see what YouTube's doing. Okay. All right, Jilly Dilly, this is an interesting one. Can you address medical anxiety? I'm terrified to get sick. There's so much misinformation from doctors out there. Other than doing your protocol to protect ourselves, what can I do emotionally? I think that's interesting. So if you're saying that you don't have any health issues, one, it's important to celebrate that, right? Two, if I was working with you, I'd want to dive in to find out what's behind it. Like, why are you terrified of being sick? So did you have a sick family member? Did you grow up taking care of a sick parent? Did you lose somebody that you love? And usually when people are afraid of being sick, there's a different fear behind it, right? So what is the fear behind it would be one thing. And then the other would be, if you're afraid of something going wrong, then all you can really do is take steps to try to protect yourself and then enjoy the fact that that is not happening right now. So for example, if you want to, let's say you're afraid of getting hurt in a car accident. Okay, there's steps you can take. You wear your seatbelt, you drive safely, not distracted, where you watch the road and you watch people. And those are things you can do, right? And you can be happy about the fact that everything's well. Every time you have a successful car ride, you feel good about yourself and you celebrate, right? So we want to take steps to protect ourselves, but we don't want to become obsessed with something bad happening, because if in spite of doing everything you can, you're still obsessed with the negative outcome, you're going to suffer as if the negative outcome is happening, even though you're fine. It's what I call manifesting our anxiety. So in my group, I see that a lot, where in my rapid recovery group, we're working on our mindset every day in addition to our health. And a lot of times when people have intense fear because they've been diagnosed with something and they're so scared about what's going to happen next. And that sometimes can interfere with their ability to enjoy the fact that they're literally in rapid recovery getting better, right? So what I found is I've never seen worry prevent a bad thing from happening. It's not like somebody worried enough not to get sick, or they worried enough not to get into an accident. Worry in and of itself doesn't prevent anything bad from happening, right? Planning can, but worry doesn't. So one, we have to release worry because it doesn't work, and we want to only do what works. Two, what people do tend to do is manifest their worry. So for example, if you're so worried someone will leave you that you check their phone all the time and you ask them questions where they are all the time and you harass them, you're going to drive them away. You're going to manifest the fear of them leaving by pushing them away, right? So you can manifest worry. You can be so afraid of being sick that you obsess about being sick all the time that you feel as though you're actually sick and you can't even enjoy the fact that you're healthy. So be careful not to manifest your fear, but instead you game plan for what you can. If you are eating a plant-based diet and you're hyper nourishing, you're doing good self-care to take care of your mental health, you're getting a good night's sleep, you're exercising, then you're doing the things you need to do to have good health. And now you can just relax and enjoy the fact that you're healthy, right? If something bad happens, let's deal with the next bad thing that happens when and if it happens. But if it doesn't, you get to enjoy the fact that it's not happening. So the other part of it, this is what I'm talking about, is being present in the moment, right? When I'm helping people who have anxiety disorders, I will say, listen, right now is okay. Unless you hate the sound of my voice, in which case now you're suffering. But if you like me, I'm assuming if you're tuned into a live, then maybe you like to hear my voice, it doesn't bother you, then right now is okay. So let's be here right now. Let's do whatever it takes to be okay in the future if there's anything we need to plan for, but right now is okay, and let yourself be okay. And that would be my jumping off point for you and anyone else who's struggling with this, okay? Let's see here. Let's go down to Facebook. Let's see. Okay, this is a new one. Robin wants to know, how much time should you leave between taking iodine and eating cruciferous vegetables? I think in general, if you're using the iodine as a supplement, then I would say probably a couple hours. So I would have it and then wait at least an hour or two before you start your food. A lot of times people are already taking thyroid medicine. They'll take it, an hour before eating anyway. So you might want to take it either like an hour or two before eating or about an hour after a meal or so, just so that you're not interfering. You can take things like iodized salt and put them on your cruciferous vegetables, and that's fine. But just be aware that cruciferous vegetables do interfere with some iodine absorption. So if you're focused on getting that dosage in, then giving yourself a couple hours is usually a good amount of space of time. All right, let's see Instagram. Okay. Okay. Kristen Nanaran. How do you get enough protein while hypernourishing? And thank you for the compliment that comes afterwards. So the good news is you are already getting enough protein if you are eating and hypernourishing. I have had in-depth answers to this question. So make sure after this is over, you either look at my YouTube, or if you want, I don't know if you can search the Instagram, I think, if you're on a computer, but if not, my YouTube, search all the times that I've talked about protein. I have a lot of information because this comes up a lot, but it is complete nutrition mythology that you need to eat any animal products for protein, or that you have to actually think about protein. Can you imagine any other animals on the planet that were like calculating their macros? Just eating. So what we have shown is people who do even our most aggressive raw program, where all they're doing is hypernourishing, their protein levels in their bloodstream are completely normal. In fact, for most people, it actually goes up because their kidney functions better. So no reason for concern at all. All right, let's come over here. All right, let me see here. All right. Let's see here. I'm trying to also see if I find things that I haven't talked about before. Try to diversify these a bit. Okay. All right. So Leslie, we have a bunch of them about thyroid, so I'm picking one. Leslie wants to know, is there a risk that a person with Hashimoto's can get a goiter on the Goodbye Lupus protocol? I have Hashimoto's. I want to try the Goodbye Lupus protocol, but I read that cruciferous veggies can cause a goiter. No. If you do the protocol correctly, it can reverse Hashimoto's and get you healthy. I was just talking to someone who's 80 years old who did the program on her own because she's worried about a neurological disorder. But she also had Hashimoto's, and she's going to send me her labs so I can confirm it. But when she was reading them off, all the Hashimoto's antibodies were negative. So even at that age. And so what we want to do is get rid of the underlying autoimmune disease. So again, separate out your iodine. Usually with Hashimoto's, you want to get 300 micrograms a day. That's what's been studied and shown to be optimal. Not more, but not less. That's been optimal according to studies on iodine needs and how well it works for people with Hashimoto's. But no, we've been able to successfully reverse it using the Goodbye Lupus protocol. So that's definitely something good to do for yourself. All right, let's see. Let's go to another Facebook one. Let's see here. I'll have to answer this one too. So Anarchy wants to know, can this help him communicate with malevolent aliens? Well, it can help clear up brain fog and optimize energy. So if that's a project you're working on that requires better brain function and health, then potentially yes. Let me know how it goes with the aliens. All right, let's see here. Let me see. This one I don't know. So Yvonne says, are greens grown through hydroponics just as healthy and nutrient dense as those grown on the ground? I don't know. I have not studied that. If they've done a study, that'd be interesting. Do they look where they actually look at nutrient density? But usually nutrients come from soil. So and nowadays soil is actually pretty nutrient depleted. It's one of the reasons why hypernourishment has to be such a high dose, is that the nutrients in vegetables are lower than they used to be, right? So I think it would really depend on how they were grown and the nutrient density of soil and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's when I don't know, I say I don't know, and that's beyond me. But let me know if you find out the answer to that. All right, let's see. All right, let's see. Ashley Linney wants to know, where do I start with endometriosis diagnosis and infertility? First of all, I'm sorry you're going through that. I know that can be extremely stressful when you want to be fertile and you want to have children, and then you find out that you're having these kind of problems. What I have found in my clients is that the health of their uterus and sexual organs, men and women, is very much related to the health of their overall body, right? One of the biggest problems in Western medicine is that we've dissected the body up into parts, and you've got your doctors looking at your brain and your heart and your lungs and your kidney and your uterus, right? And none of them really pay attention to any of the other organs. I've always operated very holistically and look at the whole body. It's why my wellness appointments are 75 minutes. Is the first thing I do is listen to the story. Tell me about your health from beginning to end. I want to know how things have progressed over time, because often I find that people think they have a new health issue when it's really, no, you've been sick since that day you got diagnosed with Hashimoto's 30 years ago. This is just your current iteration of what's been happening with your health. So the fact that it's all related is actually a good thing, because as you increase the health of your body, all of your organ systems work better. It's why the same protocol, even though it's called the Goodbye Lupus Protocol, why is it called that? Because I said goodbye to lupus 17 years ago using the protocol, and that was my first book, right? But when you're using this protocol, it's why it works for lupus, and it works for rheumatoid arthritis, and it works for cholesterol, and it works for diabetes, and it works for heart disease, and it works for endometriosis and other things like that, because we're not focused on a disease. We're focused on nourishing your cells to optimize cellular repair and reversing inflammation through optimizing the function of the anti-inflammatory immune system. So for those of you who are here first time, I saw some comments that say first time. So my specialty is in the impact of cellular function and repair and immunity with nutrition, and how to optimize what you can get from nutrition to repair damage, reverse disease as quickly as humanly possible. So hypernourishment is how we do it. And so if you're dealing with that, then I would say to start, make sure that you click on the link in my profile on Instagram, or if you're on YouTube, Facebook, you can go to goodbyelupus.com and click on the classes right now. So I have a class in 6 steps in reversing autoimmune disease with supermarket foods that I have up free right now this week. On a regular basis, I'll just make it free to the public to try to encourage people to dive in and learn. And it's the information from my book, Goodbye Lupus, taught by me live, and also many, many cases and people who've reversed their disease over time. It is one that I filmed and has helped so many people from all over the world. And it's been really cool. And it's one that I filmed years ago. You'll know because the hair's here. But it's really, really effective, and it's free right now. So if you can invest the time, that would be really good. So learn the protocol, eat a plant-based diet that's unprocessed without oils, and get hypernourishment in, and you're off to a good start. But if you're on my Instagram, click the link in my profile, because it'll send you to like free recipes, books, classes, all that kind of stuff, so you can get started. And of course, I do these every week too. I try to do as much as I can for free to the public, so that it just becomes a normal thing for people to be healthy. That's my goal. Is I think human health should be a right, and not something that you have to find somewhere and then pay $1 million for. So I try to do as much as I can to help people for free. And that's one of the ways in which I do that. So hopefully that will get you your information. You'll be feeling good. I can tell you, my rapid recovery group, we've had so many oopsies, because people thought they were infertile, and after about 5 to 6 weeks, suddenly pregnancy happens. And so we've had people do our protocol for that, or people who did our protocol who thought they couldn't have babies, who suddenly were pregnant. So it definitely makes a difference on the health of your hormonal systems and uterus, and hopefully that makes a big difference for you. Okay, let's come over here. Okay, let's see here. Appreciate all of the questions here, so we can find, we can get more and more information out there. And you guys are asking me a lot of new things, so I'm trying to make sure that I can find even new things, since we've already done a few of these. Okay, let me see here. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is a different one. Ariel wants to know, I've been hearing a lot about need for adequate choline during pregnancy. I'm assuming the Goodbye Lupus protocol is providing enough. I want to ask if I need to add anything else like soy. It's interesting how people constantly want to dissect nutrition and say, like, you need to isolate this one thing. I don't know if that's necessarily even a problem. There is choline available in things like flax and chia, but dissecting nutrition, I do not think it's been beneficial for human health. I'm making a very broad generalization here, but there's a million and billion-dollar industry in vitamins, right? You can buy every single vitamin separately. But how are humans supposed to get nutrition? By eating food, right? So I don't think it's very helpful in general to look for a specific, take things apart that way. I can also tell you through results that I've had many women now who have done the Goodbye Lupus protocol either to get pregnant, did it while pregnant, or did it to recover from pregnancy. And all of them have done really, really well and have had zero deficiencies or problems. In fact, for those who had had babies before, the baby they had while in rapid recovery with me was the strongest and healthiest by far. And that's repeated from people, that it's like we call them Hulk babies now because they were filled with green, and they are smart and active and healthy, like robust babies. So it can only tell me from results that they're getting what they need. And I think that matters more than the dissection of the nutrition. Okay, let's see here. Good one. Facebook user. Everyone seems to be worried about oxalate. Should the average person be concerned? Yeah, the average person should not be concerned. At this point, we've had over 1,000 people do rapid recovery. We have, gosh, if you look at Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, we have hundreds of thousands of people who have been exposed to this information, and many, many who have done it. I mean, in Smoothie Shred alone, we have tens of thousands of people in there, right? That's our Facebook group where people are trying to follow us. The reason I'm saying that is, if it was the case that oxalates were a problem from eating super high levels of greens, like in hypernourishment, everybody would be having problems, right? It would be like every day in Smoothie Shred, another stone, and it's not happening. So I do address this more in detail in Goodbye Autoimmune Disease. In my book, Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, I discussed pushback that we've had and how to understand. But for most people, no. For people who have an issue that was going to turn into like kidney stone issue, then if you've already had kidney stones, stay away from spinach. If you are at higher risk for them, like you have kidney disease, you've had gastric bypass, some people with diabetes, then again, just take the spinach out and still hypernourished. But for people who already are at risk, there's a good chance you're going to have them either way. But the highest risk for kidney stones, actually, including oxalate kidney stones, is for people who eat high meat diets and low vegetable intake. So for most people, you're going to prevent kidney stones by eating a hypernourishing plant-based diet. So for most people, absolutely not. It's interesting how industry keeps trying to scare people out of doing what's good for their health, and suddenly people are afraid of plants now. Whereas my own grandmother would have said fruits and vegetables are good for you. Now there's industries trying to convince you that they're bad for you. It's a wild world we live in. Okay, let me see what's going on Instagram. All right, B. Kayla. Following this diet makes me sick. My digestive system hates it. Yeah, it can be a tough transition if your gut is not ready for it. Your gut, first of all, your gut health is related to your diet, right? But also your gut motility and how well it can do its job is related to what you're used to eating. So whenever people tell me that when I try to eat raw vegetables, I get constipated, I feel sick, when those are what our guts are actually designed to do. So we have the digestive tracts of herbivores, very long digestive tract that's meant to take in raw vegetables and fruits and digest them and extract nutrients from them, right? So if it can't do that job without feeling pain or slowing down, you have an unhealthy gut. Now, even if you know that, now what do, right? So there's a lot of things I do, and I help people through this process all the time because especially when people try to go from the standard diet to my rapid recovery programs where they're eating nothing but raw hypernourishment, the number one issue we help people solve in the first 2 weeks is their gut. They're either going to the bathroom too much or not enough, or they're bloated or whatever it is. And so we have to work around that. The good news is, number one, even if your gut's mad at you, your digestive system's angry, you still will get the benefits of the nutrition, which is really, really good news. That even while your gut is just miserable and you're bloated and gassy and don't like it, we still see while people are struggling with those symptoms, suddenly their wedding ring fits again and their edema in their ankles goes down. So the nutrition will still help you even if your gut's mad. If your gut's mad, what do? First of all, you have to stop irritating it with the bad stuff. So even though it might feel better in the moment to eat meat, dairy, eggs, those kind of things, it's actually creating more damage to the gut. So there's been studies that show that even a small amount of dairy fat, it creates inflammation right in the lining of the gut and can even cause things like hemorrhaging, right? So even though someone feels good, like, oh, my stomach hurts, let me drink some milk, it might feel good in the moment, but it's creating damage. So one of the first things you want to do is stop damaging it by getting the animal products out, right? Then you can start switching over to more plants. In the beginning, if you need to have vegetable broths and, cooked vegetables to try to, get foods through without hurting, you might need to do that and then start working on increasing things like hypernourishment. Now, you didn't say how your digestive system is mad, if it's too fast or too slow. So I can't give you which advice would be best, but usually things like smoothies are easier for people to digest than eating big salads. Usually using flax oil is easier to digest than using things like chia or flax seeds. There's ways that we can kind of get around some of those issues, spacing out meals every 2 hours and making them smaller. There's a lot of different tactics I'll use to help people, but the goal will be that you are going to get this diet change happening for you, that you will change your diet and you will get your health back rather than, yeah, I don't like this. An example would be when you first try to exercise. If you've never exercised, or it's been too long and you work out, what happens? Everything hurts, right? It's so painful. All your muscles hurt. Are you getting stronger? Yes. Did you do something great for your health? Yes. Does it hurt? Yes. But eventually you start to crave it and you look in the mirror and you go, wow, I'm so strong. You start to flex and you're like, yeah, right? So eventually you get past that initial thing. The foods that make you sick feel better, very much like an alcoholic. If they skip their alcohol, they get the shakes. Right? They drink some alcohol, shakes go away. They feel better, but it's making them worse. Right? So what I mean to say there is that how your gut feels in the moment doesn't necessarily direct you to what food is better. You got to know what food is best, and then you got to help your gut get with the program and congratulate it for every day that it works on that and gets better. Okay, and probiotics as well. So hopefully that helps a lot of you, since I know that's a big issue that a lot of people face is getting your gut on board. I get it. Let's see here. Go over to YouTube. All right. Let me try some water. All right. Let's see. All right. 1 second here. Love all of these. Love all of these questions here. Got to find good ones. All right, let's see. Sin says TSI still 500 after healing Graves' disease from good autoimmune disease protocol, but the other antibodies are great. Is that normal? So first of all, congratulations. If you've gotten your other antibodies back to normal, you're doing it. You're saying goodbye to Graves' disease. And we've seen people do that many times. And it's so, so wonderful. So congratulations. If all of your markers are not back to normal yet, it just means you're not done yet. But if you've gotten all those other antibodies better, you are doing it. That's how the protocol works. So I would just say give it time for that last one to improve, and celebrate with some really fun self-care what you're doing for your health, because this is awesome. So thanks for sharing that with everybody. All right, let's see. Let's go back to a Facebook question. All right. Brenda just started today. Yay! I do not like raw vegetables. Can I just drink smoothie? And if I put a half cup of flax or chia seeds in the first blender, do I need to put more in a second blender? So first of all, you're doing 2 blenders. Good job. Like, that is a really good first day. Most people have trouble getting the first one in on the first day. So good for you. You can totally just do smoothies. In fact, that was one of the reasons why we created the smoothie protocol, right? So it was that it was hard to get people to eat all the vegetables. I'm like, eat these vegetables and you'll heal. And I don't like vegetables, right? So you learn to like vegetables. That's been one of the biggest things in our group, is that at the end of the 6 weeks, people who never like vegetables crave them. It's a thing of beauty. But in the beginning, the smoothies make it easier. So like for me, when I got better, I didn't know about smoothies. So I literally just ate broccoli and cauliflower and guacamole, like, and just dipped it and ate it. And that's how I got there, right? And just using oil for omega-3. Now we have these delicious smoothies that make it so easy. So yes, absolutely, you do not have to chew vegetables if you prefer smoothies. This will do the job. And I'm pointing to this. This will do the job. And as far as the flax or chia, yeah, if your goal is to get that half cup in a day and you've already achieved it, then yeah, you can totally put it just one blender. Or if you want to have your blenders be less thick, you can always put half in one and half the other. It does slow down the digestion a bit to have the fats in there so that you absorb a bit more. But yeah, the total amounts by the end of the day are what's most important when it comes to recovery. All right, let's come over to Instagram. All right, dietitian Fariha, how to improve metabolism. Hold on, let me find it. You guys know what I'm going to pull out, right? So I don't know if it looks backwards on Instagram. It looks the right way on YouTube, and but it's called Miracle Metabolism, right? And pardon me as I wheel over. Book written by my husband, Thomas Tadlock. And the reason that the Goodbye Lupus protocol exists is because of his obsession with really understanding how to create a fast metabolism in every human, no matter how old they are. He is a brilliant scientist who came up with a protocol to create a fast metabolism. And then I did his protocol and I got rid of the lupus. And that's how we realized that metabolism is not just about how quickly you burn fat or build muscle, but also about how quickly your body can repair damage and function optimally, which is why it works for disease reversal. So if you want to optimize metabolism, the ingredients that you use for hypernourishment, those are the building blocks of a fast metabolism. All right, let's see here. Let's go over, find some YouTube stuff. Kind of already answered that. Let's see. All right, let's try this. Carolyn says, I get low blood sugar with drinking only smoothies. So I bring that one up because I want to address a couple things there. So number one is, you didn't mention it, but do you actually measure your blood sugar and it's low? Or do you feel lightheaded or weak? Because those are different things. So sometimes people will tell me, I feel like I have low blood sugar, but they don't, when we test it, they don't have low blood sugar, but maybe they're just having a bit of detox. Or maybe they, forgot to eat salt that day and they're a little woozy or something. That a lot of times what people think is low blood sugar isn't low blood sugar. If it's actually low blood sugar, my guess is that you're not eating enough, right? Because if the smoothies contain all the ingredients for a giant meal. So like if I drink all this, I'm getting enormous amounts of greens and omega-3s and vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. There's fruit in here. This is a meal. So if I'm drinking this, I'm having a meal, my blood sugar should be very stable. And that's what it tends to do. It stabilizes blood sugar. So people don't get the ups and downs, but they get a nice stable one. I have worked with people who will have issues where they're so used to high amounts of sugar that their body goes into withdrawal. I had somebody like that. Literally, she would shove candy in her mouth. She did my 4-week program with me. You're probably listening because I know you come to the Q&As, but she would shove candy in her mouth because she thought she needed it for energy. And what we found is if she keeps her smoothie in her hand, keeps herself full, she doesn't have those dips, right? So not letting yourself actually fall, but also not considering like the high of sugar to be what normal feels like. So check in with that though, because like I said, it's one thing if you feel kind of low because you're used to a higher high, you're used to higher density, sugar and stuff like that. And so this is kind of normal, but feels wonky versus actual low blood sugar, which just means to eat more often so that you can stabilize it. Because this will give you all you need. You don't need to eat sugar to have normal blood sugar. The plants will do it. Even vegetables alone will do it. You don't need to add something for it. So I would be aware of that. Okay. I would pay attention to that and see if we can solve that for you. Okay, let's see. All right, and Musami wants to know how to increase omega-3 index, EPA and DHA. Do we have to supplement? That is what the flax and chia seeds are there for. And remember, if you want to convert the omega-3s effectively, then you want to make sure you're not having anything that competes with it. So the additional nuts or having any animal products that can compete with the breakdown of omega-3. But you don't need to test those things. Those tests are not very accurate. People show me them all the time and they don't know what to do with them. And honestly, I don't either, because they're testing the omega-3 in your blood. That doesn't tell you how much omega-3 was absorbed into cells or that got turned into immune cells, or you know what I mean? So those are, I would go by your level of health and not just your index, is what I'm saying. Okay, let's see. Silks Outdoors. How do you get your patients past food addiction, binge disorder, etc.? Through daily help and support is the biggest way. So I have created programs where I work with people every day. And the reason is that for many people, that's what they need to get past food addiction and the negative thinking and self-esteem issues and poor boundaries that cause them to go back to the wrong foods. Some people will work with me privately where we'll do sessions. Like today, somebody met with me who was able to get great results in her own, but then fell off of it. So I spent more time working with her on this than what to eat, because she can eat that, right? I can give her what to eat in 10 minutes. It's fine. But we had to deal with this. And what we found was a whole history of not valuing herself, of feeling like her only value is in serving others, and how that relates to the way she treats herself. People pleasing, right? That thinking you can't do what's good for yourself if it makes someone else uncomfortable. We had to unravel that. And we spent an hour unraveling that. Now, if I never see her again, it will re-ravel in time without daily work, right? So I really tried to give her a lot of tips on how to work on this daily, but most likely we'll need to go through it again. That really, really helps people to go through that and really figure out where it comes from so we can make game plans. But what I found be most effective is daily work. So if you were going to try to do that on your own, my Goodbye Autoimmune Disease book, I wrote that with the coaching that's from my group, literally coaching I gave other people. I translated that into chapters, right, to try to help people through a lot of these processes. But when it comes to food addiction, one, you have to treat it like real addiction. If you are a drug addict, you have to stay away from drugs. You might not be able to go to parties for now, right? You have to tell people you're in recovery so they don't try to tempt you. So you really do have to treat it like addiction. I'll give you an example. Someone who's doing rapid recovery with me right now privately, she's on day 13 and has been doing well. And for some reason, she went out to pick up pizza for her family and she ate a cheesy stick. All right. Now, first of all, why is she the one going out for a pizza? If you are on day 13 and you're a food addict, you should not be in a car alone with pizza, first of all, right? I mean, that's just not a good thing. But when that happened, she has the ability to call me. And one of the things I work with her on is you didn't get help, right? Because in the moment she wanted to get high. So we have to get past that. Why? Why did you want to get high? What was going on with you that day? How do we use self-care to get through it? Not as a matter of shame, but there's a reason why you gave in, right? You didn't throw the box in the trunk to get away from it. You opened it, right? So we have to work through now, what is it? Why she even made the decision to go get it? What was going on with her emotionally, and what was going on with her thoughts? Because there's steps that happen between the smell and the craving and the decision to do it. So I really try to help people break that down to say, okay, if you're having those cravings and addictions, you shouldn't be around it until those cravings get better. And the cravings are pretty intense for the first 3 weeks. They're highest between week 2 and week 3. So when you are vulnerable, you stay away, right? A brand new person who's just out of an alcohol rehab should not be going to a party where they're serving alcohol. It's just too fresh and new, right? So that's one thing. Then the other part of it too is you need to be aware of your triggers, right? If you're having a bad day, people who are trying to stay away from alcohol, they don't usually relapse when things are going well. They relapse when things are stressful, when somebody dies, when they get divorced, stress, right? So you need to have other coping skills. So I help people develop better coping skills. That's the very first assignment in my rapid recovery group is your self-care routine, because I know that if their self-care is crappy, their emotions are going to be lower and their cravings are going to be higher. If I can teach them how to be happy and to give themselves very nourishing self-care that makes them feel good, they're going to have less cravings. So again, you want to look at your triggers. You want to stay away and be public about it. And you want to develop self-care that actually nourishes your emotions so that you can just let food be simple. So those are all things we work on. And the other part that's important is to work on forgiveness and grace for yourself, that you're a human moving through this existence, trying your best. And the way humans learn is by falling down. Literally from the beginning, when you learn to walk, you learned by falling down. That's why we call it toddlers, because they're like, oh, no, and they fall and they fall and they fall, and eventually they get it. Well, that's how humans learn, whether you're trying to start exercising or change your diet or work on better boundaries. When you fall down is when you learn, if you let yourself. So if you fall down, help yourself back up, forgive yourself, and then try to really examine those triggers and work on ways to improve your happiness. A lot of times when it comes to eating disorders, binge eating, when people fall down, they shame themselves, which then makes them feel less motivated and less like trying. Instead, you got to be loving to yourself, forgive yourself, comfort yourself, treat the wounds, and then rededicate yourself to eating well. So those are all things we do. Another thing would be, even if you eat off plan, still hyper-nourish so that you don't get stuck in all or nothing. But I fell down, but I also still got my good stuff in. So you start to learn that there can be, some grace in there as well, and kind of minimizing your losses or damage. So a lot, right? I do a lot is the shorter answer to help people through food addiction. It's a lot. And it's daily work for most people who work with me. We work on it every day, and I support them through it. I call them out on stuff that they're doing wrong so they can really see themselves clearly. but also with compassion and love to try to help them learn how to be more loving to themselves. When you're binge eating, when you're food addicted, you're hurting yourself with food. And when you are nourishing yourself well, you're loving yourself with food. So really learning that difference comes from better self-esteem and self-love as well. It's a lot, but it's worth doing. And now Instagram's trying to give me poor connection. There she is. Okay. Let's see. Over to YouTube. Julia, no, it's not Tuesday. It's Wednesday. You just took me for a moment. I'm like, is it Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. It's hump day. All right, a couple more. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's try this. So, Howie, Dr. G, my dad is early CHF, congestive heart failure, has history of gout. We followed Hypernurse Smoothie for 2 months. Recently, he had gout because he wasn't drinking enough. Any advice for getting rid of gout? Yeah, it's going to be really the same protocol. So I don't know what else he's doing besides smoothie, but you definitely want to keep him hydrated. You want to keep him on the healthiest foods. Usually gout's triggered by eating lots of meat, being dehydrated, and also alcohol. Those are all connected to gout. So, making sure he stays really hydrated. I would have him on hypernourishment. And if he's eating other things besides hypernourishment, make sure that they're plants. And also make sure he's also committed. It's very hard to make people do things. If any of you have kids, you know this, right? People have to be motivated. And so that's why I work hard on motivation, because if I can motivate people, they'll do what they need to do. You can't make people. So maybe if you can talk with your dad, make sure that he's on board and that he doesn't want to be in pain anymore. Maybe he can watch the classes, right? And help him with that as much as possible. I hope he's feeling better too, because that's a very painful condition. All right, let me see. All right, Trisha, my eye doctor told me that the Plaquenil medicine I'm taking is starting to damage one of my eyes and may result in blindness. Any patients with this similar situation or reversal? I'm so sorry to hear that. That is one of the risks for Plaquenil, is that it can cause problems with the eyes. Most people do not have that, but it is a risk that can happen. I have not had anyone ever try to work with me to reverse that, so I don't know. We've helped people reverse uveitis, and glaucoma. Vision got better, but I've never had someone specifically come to me with Plaquenil-induced eye disease. So it's still worth doing, because we know if there's a potential for your eyes to recover, this nutrition is what you're going to use to do it. But if I don't have cases in something, then I never say that I know, because we have to see what can happen. But the best thing you can do is do the protocol to get rid of the autoimmune disease so that you don't need the Plaquenil. And that will be definitely helpful for your eyes as well. And I hope you're doing well, because that is a scary thing to be told. Okay, let me see here. All right, one more round. Lucky Cat wants to know, do avocados count towards your fruit of the day? Nope, avocados are unlimited in my programs. They do not count as fruit or vegetables, just as deliciousness that you can have as much as you want to. Just make sure you're not eating so many avocados that you don't eat enough cruciferous vegetables. But I have found avocados have been what allows people to have the yumminess they need to shovel the vegetables in. So, yep, they don't count towards the fruits. All right, and let's see here. Okay. Oh, thanks. It's International Women's Day. Well, happy International Women's Day, everybody. Let's see here. Okay. Heather wants to know, with the protocol reverse Lyme disease, could it reverse chronic fatigue from Epstein-Barr? Okay, so there's two different questions here. With Lyme disease, I don't know that anyone who's done my protocol for Lyme disease has ever had their markers tested to see. It's kind of a tough diagnosis when it's chronic Lyme disease. But I've had a lot of people with chronic Lyme disease do my rapid recovery program, and they found that their symptoms got dramatically better. So it's doing something. But whether you can say that the Lyme is gone, I don't know. I think most people who have done it for Lyme, they're doing other protocols with it. So they're either doing herbs or they're doing medicines, but they weren't getting the results that they wanted without getting the nutrition right. So it's definitely been shown to have great results for Lyme. And from Epstein-Barr chronic fatigue, yes, I don't even know how many people, hundreds at least, have done rapid recovery for chronic fatigue. And have had extraordinary results in their recovery. So those are definitely reasons to do it. If you're tired, if you're achy, If you have high cholesterol, if you have low energy, which is like tired, right? If you have autoimmune disease, if you have inflammation, if you just want better immunity, these are all reasons to use hypernourishment to optimize your body's ability to do what you're asking it to do. It's always a great part of getting yourself better. And so I'm glad you guys are all here. I do this every week. So I'll be back next week, same time. In the meantime, do what you can to get started. Take care of yourselves. Go to my free classes if you haven't yet. The reason I put them out for these period of time is so that you can't delay it. Do it now. I want to pressure you to be motivated. Okay. I want you to be motivated to take action and get your health back. I'm here to answer questions as often as I can. For people who want to work with me right now, like I said, the Rapid Recovery Group starting March 17th just hit the cap, but usually the first 5 to 10 people on the wait list manage to squirm in there. So it's not too late if you still want to try to do that. We might be able to still help you get in. If not, you'll be on the list for the next one. Otherwise, there's wellness appointments and my 4-week program. I get asked that a lot. Right now, the next person would be able to do end of April. But hopefully you already got what you needed. You got free information, you got recipes, you got questions answered. Now it's up to you to go take action. All right. So go take care of yourself and I will see you soon. All right. Bye, everybody.